This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
I did hear that they were coming through necessary media.
Because it's necessary. Necessary media. Media because it's necessary.
Alright, I gotta catch him. Got you. Come here, Cider. You're lucky. It's my last Pokeball. I'll be back. Ladies and gentlemen, first off, let me apologize for that. If you're not hip to the game, we got a Pokemon craze going on, and apparently Psyduck is in the building. Psyduck is in the building, but I'm out of Pokeballs, so I'm gonna have to get to him later. And if you understand something about how this game works, apparently they put the actual Pokemon in relative spots that are like in coordination with them, like what they're relative to. So I'm gonna assume Psyduck is here, because if you don't know about Psyduck, his thing is all about, like, gets like headaches and everything, he's confused. If you know this show, on a Wednesday following a city council meeting, and you watched the city council meeting last night, or you even got a little bit of information on it, then you probably know why Psyduck's here with a headache or confusion. My intern's a little confused too. Somebody bumped that music, but that's all right, because that's the music of what is necessary. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am back again, your host and friend Michael DeOliveira, ushering in the necessary era. Every Wednesday here live on Comcast Channel 95. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe here. Put that thing right there. Click it. Click it. Tell your family, click it. Your friends, click it. Your neighbors, click it. I've told you before, knock on your neighbor's door. It's a friendly city. And it's even more friendly now thanks to Pokemon Go. Now, I don't think I'm going to get a copyright strike on that by mentioning that. And I am not being paid for this advertisement either. Matter of fact, I was probably skeptical about this in the first 2 days I heard about it. I've seen a lot of people just walking around like this. Right? Everybody's seen them. We've seen the pictures on Facebook. We've seen a great picture, which I want to get into a little bit in general, about how apparently this game is bringing Fall River together. All right? This game is bringing people together. People who might not have ever crossed paths are now discovering they're either a part of the same team in this game, or they're finding themselves walking the same parks and all that stuff. So apparently this might be mending the divide that has been going on in Fall River. Maybe we get some of our local officials out there into it, all right? Because like I was saying, on Facebook, if you haven't noticed, or other social media, you know, we've had the pictures with the police officers, and it's not just in this community. I'm sure it's going on across the country. They're taking this as an opportunity to try to like mend any fences that might be going on with the public. So we have the police and other local types of law enforcement or safety personnel. They're using this game as a way to come together with the people and interact, which I think is good. And somebody, I'm going to give a shout out to Davey Pablo, if you're watching this, buddy. He gave the note. I think he said it in jest, all right? He was joking, but honestly, I think it's a good idea. You know, Fall River, we have our local officials always talking about trying to grow what's the word I'm looking for? They want people to come, tourism. They want to build the tourism of this city. Now, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, too, I'm not sure. How was that mic, Jake? Mic was all right that whole time? All right, I want to make sure I'm mic'd up, though. It's like the NFL, all mic'd up. Mike D is mic'd up. So anyway, make sure I got some cleavage in there. No? So anyway, yeah, as I was saying now, we were trying to tout tourism, and I'm one of the people, I'm not the only one, far from it, who the general idea of tourism, I love. You know, get other people's dollars and bring them into the city. I'm all for it. But we got to understand something, that you know, let's pretend we have this grand idea, which is what they're doing right now. We're growing this grand idea, this big dream of tourism, right? But then, dream shatters because reality sets in, and when these people come here, they see the condition of the city. That could be physically with the buildings as well as the population. We have a lot of issues here to deal with, right? So we can't just start inviting people here for the hell of it. But again, shout out to Davey. The idea of, you know, if we want to bring everybody to the waterfront, why don't we reach out to Nintendo? I don't know if they're the ones in control of Pokemon Go, but they definitely are in control of Pokemon. Why don't we go reach out, send an email, have one of these mass trips, or send our Fall River, our marketing video that I had in the past. If you want to check that out, go to the YouTube page, www.youtube.com/thenecessarymedia. Check out one of the older episodes with Rich Cabaceres, and we were discussing the marketing video that Fall River put out. Maybe we should be sending that marketing video to Nintendo and see if we can get some very rare, very special Pokemon by the waterfront. You know, we might get some action, more tourists. Maybe that's the way to compete with Cape Cod and Newport, since apparently, you know, everybody wants to make us the next coming of Newport or Cape Cod, and I don't see it happening. Again, I'm not the only one. So we'll see if we can push that as an idea, okay? Everybody out there listening, get on the horns, call, I'm sure we could drop a little bit of money if we had to, you know, put some extra Pokeballs in those pockets. But, all right, so moving on from that, and by the way, anybody wants to call today, I put up on the Facebook page, so if you're not already following it, make sure you click like and tell your friends to do the same on the Facebook page as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/thenecessarymedia. You can follow me on Twitter too if you want, @necessarymedia. Let's get them all merged. But as I put out there, so if you want to call in at any time during this discussion and put your 2 cents in, the number's 508-730-3222. 508-730-3222, and join the conversation. But I had put out there about the city council meeting, so obviously we're going to get into this. Now, a couple things. First main topic I want to get into on this, which I think was the main meat and potatoes of this meeting last night, definitely the meat, was the main question being, does our city council need its own council? Does our city council need its own council? Now, what do you mean, Mike? If you don't know, what I mean is the city has its own lawyer, okay, it's corporation counsel, and they're supposed to represent the city as a whole, and Judge Macy, that's our corporation counsel, he made it clear last night that that's his intent, that's what's written, that's his guideline, is to represent the city as a whole, okay? But there's a lot of differing opinion on if that's valid or not. And a lot of this stems off of what happened during the recall of former Mayor Will Flanagan and all the issues that were brought up in the public and the public opinion on, because at that time the corporation counsel was Liz Souza, and there was some speculation, some rumors, some stuff going on with that where people were just not comfortable with the fact that she represented the city as our main form of a lawyer. And especially since at the time the city council had a differing opinion, they were contested really with it. It wasn't even like an even playing field. It was more like a them versus us between the two thing. A lot of that's still stemming out. So because a lot of that's now stemming out, which I want to know, I don't remember too much of this during the Sam Sutter brief period as mayor, but that's not even like, I'm not going to throw that in as a big deal. If anybody else has an opinion on that part, feel free to chime in. I just don't remember there being a lot of talk about city council needing a lawyer during that brief stint. But now that Jazel Correa is the mayor, we have the city council again in this, and versus the mayor opinion. It's like them versus us with the two of them, it seems at least. So the question becomes again, does the city council, I'm going to speak for them at the moment. They're like, do we need our own lawyer against them and their lawyer, even though this is supposed to be the city's lawyer? So in that, last night, this was mentioned by City Councilor Steve Camara, but I believe it was proposed by City Councilor Cliff Ponte. So in a second, I'm going to have my intern Jake queue up a video that I have. But before I do that, I want to make note on this video, okay? Now, if you're paying attention, make sure you make note. I believe it's next week. City Councilor Cliff Ponte is scheduled to be on the show live. So I guess it would have been great if he was on this show, because I think he's already eager to be on the show. And you'll see why in a second. I'm going to take note. If you're watching this live right now, I want you to take a guess how necessary or necessarily, okay, I think those two are close enough the same. How necessary do you think Cliff Ponte thinks a lawyer is for the city council? So I want you to pick a number right now. How much of a level of a number? How many times do you think this is going to come up? And you got a number? You sure? Okay, you got a number. Now, guess what? Let's see who comes the closest out there. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave it in the comments. Leave your number in the comments and let me know if you were right or not. And if you're watching this at home on YouTube, make sure you holler, at home live. Make sure you get at me on Facebook. Let me know what you thought, if you were right or wrong. All right, Jake, play that video.
Now, this doesn't necessarily mean this council is ever going to be put in this situation, but if you do a little homework and do a little Google search, you'll find that back in 2016, there was a lawsuit that, and again, for the record, this doesn't mean this is ever going to happen here, but it may. There was a lawsuit between the Brockton City Council and the mayor of Brockton. It's still in litigation. You can read it on the Enterprise website. Brockton mayor responds to suit filed against him by the city council. Now, if you go back to 2013, this council had $10,000. This was the workings of former Councilor Mioza, who felt that it was appropriate for the city council to have its own representation and also legal services. That was approved by the city council to a 7-2 vote in 2013. And then for some reason in 2014, there was no allocation, there was no expense under the city council expenses. Now, these are just a couple of examples, and I'm sure I could find a couple more. But I personally feel that the limited time that I've been here, having an attorney represent this council would probably serve not only in the best interest of the council, but also the community. Because no matter how we shake this, no matter how we discuss it, no matter how we talk about it, unfortunately, the Corporation Council who represents the city of Fall River is appointed and the contract is signed with the mayor and not this council. And there is a perceived conflict of interest. Whether we want to believe it or not, it's a reality that the mayor signs the contract with Corporation Council, and the council does not have a say in that process. I'm not necessarily saying there's a conflict of interest right now, but there is a perceived.
Well, I hope not.
Absolutely not. And that's what I started in the beginning by stating. There's no way that I'm trying to question your integrity at all whatsoever, Judge Macy. I'm just letting you know what I hear from people. And the situations that I've been a part of in the last 7 months, it's often been nice to maybe get a second opinion. And I don't see why this council can't consider doing that. Now, I also understand that this is a resolution, and after my colleagues speak, I would like to amend the resolution and be it ordered that, and I can fill in the blanks after some discussions, so that we can do it. Now, granted, I'm not necessarily saying that we need to hire a $60,000 attorney to represent this body. I'm just saying that I find it necessary and appropriate that we could allocate some expenses in the city council expense line, whether it's 5 or 10 or 12 or whatever the council feels necessary, and put an RFP out for the council to have its own representation. I find it necessary. I find it would serve as a good tool, and I get the fact that and I believe Councilor in seat 2 indicated when I presented this resolution to be referred to the Committee on Finance, that we don't want to necessarily have a shouting match back and forth between Corporation Counsel and the council attorney. I get that. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I also use an analogy that there's the potential that if you have a problem with your heart, you're going to see 2 heart doctors. If you're going to call a real estate agent to sell your house, you're going to get 2 opinions of value. And this council would be equipped with the proper tools necessary and more than one opinion to be able to make a decision that represents this community and represents the hardworking taxpayers of this community. It's necessary to clap.
It is necessary to clap, Cliff, and I appreciate all those shout-outs. So, ladies and gentlemen, did you guess the correct number? Yay! Today's show is brought to you by the number 9. All right, just for the sake of this right now. When I watched that live, I'm not gonna lie, I chuckled a little bit. I giggled a little bit because I said to myself, wow, Cliff is really looking forward to being on the show. There's a lot. Now, any other city councilor that wants to do the same, I fully embrace this new tactic. I love it. I love it. Get in line. I mean, if you're going to be coming on the show next, is that the new thing? Should I start pushing that? If you're going to be on the show the next week, I want to get that marketing push, going early. So just necessary. Why? Because it's necessary. So as I was saying,
It's necessary to clap.
it is necessary to clap, and thank you again, Cliff. Now, as you saw, Cliff was making it pretty clear, at least at first, and actually he went on to do so again later, that he thinks it is necessary to have a lawyer for the city council. Now, originally, now you got to understand, as I've said before, I really got involved into the local end of politics. I've said this before, but for new viewers, I've been following the national level for since 2000 and 2001, really hardcore. But I've always paid attention to what's going on in the news, even when I was young. I was ahead of my time, I guess, or at least I was into stuff other people were bored with. Let's put it that way, to be honest. But paying attention locally, I didn't really start paying attention until the recall stuff happened locally. And upon doing so because I come in during that time frame, I am familiar with the battles that were going on between the then city council and the then mayor. And there was this back and forth. It got pretty heated. There's a couple videos out there you can find of that as well. So, I mean, that was a reality. But is it something that was just in the moment, should have been handled better? Or is it something we should be going prepared for? Should we be thinking proactively instead of reactionary? Reactively, however you want to word that. But the rest, so that was my original view, was 100% the council needs one, because even if they're going to use it for, now I'm not getting into the specifics either, I believe, credit to City Councilor Pam La Liberté LeBeau, she pointed out the fact that how are we going to do this? Because if you put a lawyer on some kind of a retainer, there's going to be a cost associated with this. So there's going to be a pool of money that every time a city councilor goes to this lawyer, you're going to be basically pulling out of that pool. So if, let's say, just to make this easy numbers, we have a $10,000 bucket for our lawyer, a bucket filled with $10,000 for the lawyer for the city council, and one city councilor just keeps going and snatching out of that bucket, the rest of the city council by half the year over might have nothing left, and when there's an actual reason to ask a question or they need something, sorry, you went through the budget. And one particular person I could tell you was already going nuts with this, and I'm going to parlay this in a second, was City Councilor Ray Mitchell, who just constantly talks about the fact that he's gone to these side lawyers about everything to do with our budget and the budget and the contracts with it. So, I think Pam was kind of hinting to that. She can disagree if she wants. Feel free to chime in live or feel free online, whatever. But I think that's what she was hinting at, is there's certain key councilors who take it upon themselves to just keep going to lawyers, so they'd go to the bucket. So Joe Camara, Joe Camara, City Council Joe Camara, he made the point that you can have these lawyers and, as many lawyers as you want, because all you're doing is getting another opinion. And that every lawyer can have their opinion all you want, so it's going to be your opinion versus the corporation counsel lawyer opinion. And he's the actual lawyer for the city. So if you have your own side lawyer and he gives you his opinion, it's not going to matter because it doesn't override the actual charter-held lawyer of the city. So after a lot of the discussion back and forth, I'm now on the fence. I don't think I'm either way. I don't want to say I'm against it right now, but I'm officially on the fence. I'm sorry. I'm riding the fence. It's giving me a wedgie. It hurts, but it's where I'm at. So I want to see going forward now, what do you think? Again, chime in online, call in if you want to call in. What do you think about it? Does the city council need its own lawyer? Again, on the fence. But some other things that happened during the city council meeting that I thought were interesting is there was also this big conversation having to go with how there was something that needed to be pushed forward that would went to city ordinance to allow some ordinance changes so that these other positions that are currently filled in our budget. So our budget's already been passed, and there's certain items, line items, or positions that are budgeted in it. But our ordinance doesn't line up properly with it. So as to say, you have positions where people, and City Administrator Kathy Ann Viveris pointed out, we have people right now who they're being paid, say, again, easy numbers, folks, don't hold me to this, but let's say they're getting about 70% of what the actual ordinance says they should be being paid. So technically, if we don't fix the ordinance, you have these people already in line where they should be getting paid a certain amount just because the ordinance states so. So the purpose of saying we have to fix our ordinances is to get all these numbers in order in the budget. So what happens on the city council side is they start arguing, well, how many of these positions are important, because they wanted to take them place by place. And to sum it up in the gist of this was there's 3 positions specifically that were given they were given top priority. We had basically the treasurer position. We had, I believe it was the HVAC position for the heating and heating and air conditioning. My apologies. The heating and air conditioning position. And then we also had the electrician, I believe it was position. So 3 main positions that they thought were top priority because of things that need to happen in the city and what's going on. So these 3 positions were taken out of the rest of the bunch and put forward as top priority. My question, though, is, and I don't know, I believe at one point it might have been that, and I'm going to ask him next week if City Councilor Cliff Ponte was asking about this, but there was no follow through on what the other positions were. So these 3 positions come forward as crucial, very important. So these 3 positions come forward as crucial and important. What were the other positions? Can I find out, can you give me some kind of comparison so I can determine how important I as a citizen think these other positions are? There was none done. They weren't even mentioned. All that was mentioned was the 3 that they were trying to push, and then this back and forth of are we going to push them forward? So they did. End result is those 3 positions got pushed to ordinance separately so that they can get voted on separately outside of this other group. So we're going to have to see how that goes now. I thought that was pretty interesting. Something else that's worth noting, if you've been paying attention to the ordinance meetings, something on the regulations aspect, and city council meetings, we've had a citizens input, this gentleman, and I don't have his name on me right now, so it doesn't matter, but everybody who's been paying attention, and if you haven't paid attention, I'm going to tell you, knows, there's this gentleman who comes up on citizens input all the time, and he's had this long-standing gripe now with one of the local taxi companies. Now, what I understand from this, from hearing him multiple times, is that he was let go, fired, whatever way you want to put it, at least some months ago. I want to say a little over a year ago. That's not the point. The point is he was let go for reasons he believes are unjust, and it has to do with a car seat in the car. So he has an issue with that, and this isn't saying he's right or wrong. I don't have the facts in front of me. It's not, this is definitely above my pay grade, okay? We have the city council trying to determine if it's above their pay grade. It's definitely above mine. But he's been coming into the city council meeting every week and trying to get some kind of a fight against this taxi company because he feels he was done wrong, and then he also feels that they are doing wrong continuously because they're not in line with some rules about these car seats. Again, that's to be debated, and that's not for me to debate. The city council has said over and over again it's not for them to debate because they can't do nothing about it. It's not in their jurisdiction. It's at a state level issue. He has to go to a higher judgment. Now, Steve Camara took it upon himself to highlight this and highlight the turmoil of this individual and the frustration he feels, and made as if the council needs to have a full hearing on this. So the council needs to set themselves up as the judge and jury here and have a full hearing on this guy's issue and hear out everything he has to say, with the possibility of revoking the medallions for this taxi cab. Now, if you don't understand, taxi cab company. Now, if you don't understand, that just means a company is given X amount of medallions, which basically means X amount of vehicles they can put out there to transport in the profession of taxihood. So they want to revoke this, or they want the threat of revoking this out there so that the taxi company has to come into this hearing and they have to have a full-fledged hearing and hear all the information this gentleman puts forth. The only reason Steve Camara made we should do this, though, is because this guy has had this gripe and he comes forward every time and he brings information every time and he's getting frustrated because nothing's happening for him. Bro, I don't know what to tell you, but it's not, everybody's already made it clear to Councilor Steve Camara, that they can't do nothing about it. So he's just doing it to placate to a citizen. My opinion is he's doing it to placate to a citizen's frustrations. Do I feel bad for the guy? Sure. But everything I've heard says they can't do nothing. So what is the point? The point is just to say, well, there's a frustrated citizen, and he literally said, I'm almost quoting Councilor Camara, as the only reason we should do this is because the citizen is frustrated and he feels like he deserves justice, and Steve Camara supports justice. Bro, it's not a reason to do it. It's not in your jurisdiction. But whatever. We'll see what happens with that. Again, it's way out of my pay grade. I can't determine anything with that. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who was feeling frustrated. I want to also give a mention. I reached out earlier today, and it was a last-minute reach out. I didn't think I would be able to do this, but I had reached out to City Councilor Stephen Long to see if he could be on the show. And he's got some issues going on today. Not a problem. We'll get him back on the show in the future. I enjoyed having him on. But if you noticed, he seemed pretty frustrated last night as well. There was plenty of times where they were going back and forth with what's going to happen and how to treat it. And you literally twice, okay, I believe 2 times I seen and heard him basically try to say something, and then someone else down there say something, or someone else down there up there, and he just goes, nope, I'm good. I am good. I'm done. Like, I thought he was this close to just leaving the building. He did not want any more of that. So I thought that was going to happen. But something else really sticks out to me about the meeting, and I want to hear people's opinions on this. Again, chime in on the Facebook page, YouTube comment section, everything. If you're watching this live, again, you still have time. You want to call in. Where was City Council President Shawn Cadime? Where was he? Now, I'm trying to negotiate something to have him on the show soon. We're going to see what happens. Maybe try for sometime in August. I have a big show, side note, coming up in August, but I'll get to that another time. But I want to see if I can get Shawn Cadime on soon. He's got obviously a busy schedule. He's got such a busy schedule, he was not there last night. And he hasn't been there a couple times. Now, for all you out there who don't understand or do, and you want to know, or you want more information on it, I mean, he's got another position. He's, I believe it's a selectman in Seekonk. I might be wrong on that, but I believe it's selectman, the term. But the point is, he's got almost a similar position in Seekonk where, so he's doing this. He's got to balance a schedule. Well, I don't understand how many times you can do that and who gets, favored. I don't get that. That's a little tricky for me. But what I wanted to point out, which was interesting, is someone I know who was at the meeting last night pointed out that there were no police there. No police presence in the meeting. Again, if you're new to everything that's been going on, apparently since this new council has taken over, there's been this new trend of having like this extra police force in the building for added security. But people have been hinting that the reason they're there is because of Shawn Cadime, that it's him, he's the one initiating this. So the quidinky-dink, and I don't know, I don't have the facts on this, it doesn't matter. Not to me, I haven't been there to deal with it, but the quidinky-dink is Shawn Cadime wasn't there last night, and apparently no police were there either. Coincidence? I don't know. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost the end of the show, so I want to make sure we get into the fan favorite No Flex Zone Award of the Week.
No flex zone. No flex zone. They know better. They know better.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, you are in the No Flex Zone. The No Flex Zone is a zone where you do not belong flexing. And by flexing, I mean doing anything you're not supposed to be doing in a place you're not supposed to be doing it. And before I actually mention this week's winner, let me kind of mention it by also saying, let us all take a moment to bow our heads in a moment of silence. There we go. A moment of silence for all the Bernie Sanders supporters out there. Ladies and gentlemen, the No Flex Zone winner of this week is Bernie Sanders. Why? Because of all the people who gave money to Bernie because they were feeling the burn, gave him money in hopes of fighting the establishment to only have him make sure to come out and endorse the establishment. Here's to you, Bernie, No Flex Zone Award winner of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the show. Thanks for coming out. Make sure you come back next week. Tell your friends, tell your family, hide your wives, hide your kids, because we out here. I'm going to be back every week, so make sure you tune in. Like that. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, and have a great week, everybody. Enjoy your night.